We'll start now.
I'm recording as well. Awesome, thanks. Welcome everyone to Women Who Lead, and thank you for tuning in today as we wrap up our final show of the year. Can you believe it? And of course, I've saved the best for last. I'm so excited to have a phenomenal guest today, a powerhouse in the real estate and mortgage industry. My name, for those who don't know me and it's your first time tuning in, is Teresa Palacios Smith, and I am Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America and HSF affiliates. And I am looking forward to sharing un cafecito, because we did this based on the fact that it's the perfect time for that coffee break and family that in Colombia, when we get together with friends, we always say, right, Patty, ¿quieres un cafecito? So today we have a special guest, Patty Arvielo, who has made a huge impact in the industry, not only by making homeownership possible for so many minorities through the lending products, programs, and initiatives that she leads at New American Funding, NAF, but also by all the work she does in empowering women. In case you don't know Patty, she is an award-winning entrepreneur. Yes, Patty, that's you. And a co-founder of and president of New American Funding, which is a family-owned business. She has over 39 years of experience, although she doesn't look like it, in the industry, and has built a company that has a servicing portfolio of over 152,000 loans worth $37.8 billion, with 201 locations nationwide and over 4,300 employees. A first-generation Hispanic American, she has created a diverse and inclusive company made up 59% women, 45% minorities, and 36% millennials. Patty was recently named as the most powerful Latina by the Association of Latino Professionals for America. And I met Patty for the first time when I became part of the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals board in 2010. And little did I know how much she would touch and influence my own life. In 2015, Patty and I really got to work closely together when I became president of the organization. And she actually became the co-chair of our corporate board of governors. And I will never forget that day when our leadership team, we traveled to Washington, D.C. to meet with the then HUD Secretary, Mr. Julian Castro, and how, Patty, you commanded the room with genuine conversation, frank conversation regarding the future of the lending industry and lending for our community in real estate, right? Patty was also the driving force behind the creation of NAREP's Latina Brunch, which was created to empower women in the industry and takes place during NAREP's National Convention every year. And guess what? It was launched the year I was president. I'm so proud of that. I love this quote by Patty, which says, being successful means not just doing great in business, but spreading a wealth of ideas and kindness to truly empower ourselves and the community for the meaningful and measurable change we want to be. That's powerful. So let's get started and hear from the chingona herself, somebody who I also consider a dear friend. Hey, Patty, let's get started. So talk about, for those who don't know you, have not heard your story, because I think it's so impressive, how you got started in the business and a little bit about your family and the dreams that you had, because I love that story.
Wow. So thanks for having me today, and thanks for all the kind words. You are my amiga for sure. One of the true gifts of NAREP is the connection to friends and family, and you definitely hit that category on both sides. So thank you for having me. Okay, so I've been in the mortgage industry for 39 years. So this would be a very long Facebook Live if I told you my career. But listen, I had a nana that when I was very young, I remember her telling me, tú me vas a comprar una casa. Like, I'm the child that's going to buy her a house, because I was very driven and wanted money, like at a very young age. So at the young age of 16, I fell into the mortgage industry, because nobody actually chooses this industry. So I fell into it because it paid the most per hour. And so I just kind of started to climb the rungs of the ladder, and started to look upwards to who was doing what and making what, right? So I tell everybody every day, if you're going to go to work, you need to capitalize and make the most money you can make, right? So I started that journey very, very early. And my career has been really driven by mentors, by men, right? And so later on my career, when we had launched our company, I started to, for fun, do a lot of outreach to Latinas and to women in the industry, just so that they would know that there's definitely opportunities for all of us to lead big companies. So that's just kind of been my primary goal the last few years. And really, NAREP spurred that passion in me, because it gave me the platform, my first platform, to really be able to engage with others that really wanted to strive for more in the industry, but didn't have anybody that looked like them, sounded like them. So I really give a lot of credit to NAREP, to Jerry Asensio, for giving me that kind of nudge, like, hey, Patty, there's not many people that look like you, mija, go out and like start talking. And I haven't stopped talking since. And that's been about 9 years now. So but yeah, I started to climb the ladder, I was very money hungry. I wanted to look for the opportunities that paid the most money, and continue to do that my entire career. I still feel like I'm doing that. Yeah, so just really, this is the country of opportunities. And I think I've taken advantage of many of the great offerings that this country has been able to give me.
And I couldn't agree with you more, gosh, with the opportunities that NARP has posed, and also the ideas and the nudges, and hey, you should do this. And, I think that to give credit as well, I think for me, that the connections I've made have been such a big part of my life. And, one of the things that you mentioned, even though there's opportunity, there's a saying that says, you're going to do well by doing good, right? And so one of the things that I am most impacted is the fact that you actually help so many minorities. You are the largest minority lender woman, right, in
Yes.
the country. And that is huge, Patty. Tell me about how you do it, because the margins, according to some, are not there. There's not, you've made it a passion. Why? Why is that so important?
Well, when you've been in the industry as long as I have, you have to find your passion, right? If you find your passion, the money comes. It just, work is not really work anymore. And the love I have for our culture is very strong and very deep. I've always been a very proud Latina. I grew up in a primarily white neighborhood, and my mom had a really steep accent. And I don't know, I was just always kind of proud of being different. And so, when I started to realize that I didn't really look up to see what the industry looked like until it really mattered, right? The industry is still primarily led by white males. Nothing wrong with that. It just is what it is. They had a head start on all of us, but now is the time for us to take the time to give these young ladies and young people in our industry the mirror, so that they can start to emulate what it is that I do. It's not rocket science, right? But that's why mentorship matters. And it's so important, because there's not a school of real estate, right? How to become a successful realtor. There might be coaches, but it's not something we go to high school for or college for. Same in the mortgage industry. You learn by trial and error. So the more mirrors and the more representation we have around the table, the more that you will see the rise of other young minority women rising. As far as my home ownership endeavor and wanting to impact the Latino community, because I know that home ownership is the direct key to wealth in our country. That started with 1994. And I'll tell you, this is how it started. 1994 was not a good year. All of a sudden the faucet turned off, and it went from being busy to not busy in the mortgage industry. And I thought to myself, well, I speak pretty good Spanish, so I'm going to go to Santa Ana, which is primarily Hispanic, and I'm going to go ask Hispanic realtors for loans. And our branch was just really busy in comparison to Angelo Mazzillo's other branches in the country. So when you're at a high level and you're looking at one branch doing better than others, you have to dive into why. They figured out it's because we were tapped into then minority lending. So this has been a passion for mine for many, many years. I've used the tools of FHA to deliver the dream of home ownership, but it's just a direct passion of mine. So it's something that I'm very, very involved in still to this day. And really the key is representation. The more Latino loan officers I have, the more impact I'm going to make in the communities. And so my approach has always been recruiting and retaining and then empowering within our company to get them to rise. We have several Latina loan originators at NAF who will make over $1 million this year. So I'm very, very proud of that. And I think a lot of it is that, hey, if I can do it, they can do it.
Well, I love that attitude, and maybe I need to change careers because that's pretty good living there, over $1 million a year, right?
Yeah.
In addition to that, you've also helped, and I know this from a personal standpoint, so many women, you impact my life. One of the things that I've done, this show was because of you, Patty, because the things that you've done to create opportunities for women and the power that I see when we get together. The first time that we did the Latita brunch, and how powerful that was, and how many women were saying, oh my God, this is great. We see ourselves in the audience. We see ourselves with the speakers, and we want more. And I think that's something you've done, and you continue to do that. So many, you've helped impacted millennials, women. Tell me about that. You even have a university and a mentorship program. So let's talk a little bit deeper about that, why that's important, and how others can kind of mimic this within their own companies so they can create these meaningful opportunities as well for individuals so that they can move up the ranks.
So listen, you're not born a loan originator, right? And if you want to diversify your team, you have to have a training model or a portal in your organization. We decided in NAF University, I think it's been about 6 years now. We train roughly 100 students a month. 90% of them are millennials, and they are diverse from different ethnic backgrounds. That has been a great feeder pool into our company. That is how we've been able to recruit talent. And then I really put myself out there, and it was kind of uncomfortable because I'm like, the whole imposter syndrome. Am I lucky or am I good? So I started to launched a program a couple of years ago, a mentorship program called Thrive and Lead. It was in the beginning really directed towards Latinas engagement with somebody like me so that they could ask me questions about what it took to get to my level of success. But slowly but surely men started to join, and then it became very diverse. So I think that there's a great need for mentorship, and it's free and it's accessible, and really it's part of my passion to give back. I feel very humbled and very fortunate. I feel lucky too, but I know that it's because of my skill set and by sticking with this career for so many years that I've developed the skills that it's taken today to build a company like ours. But I feel a great need to give back because I too wanted, in times of crises or times of disruption and change, I wanted somebody that was in my industry to tell me it was going to be okay. So I hope that I'm that kind of ear and that for a lot of people in this industry, because it's kind of a crazy industry, right? It's very cyclical. It's very up and down. So I hope that I offer hope, education, and just kind of a shoulder to cry on sometimes, because it is very stressful. So I just wanted to be that for many. So that's why I launched Thrive and Lead.
Well, and you brought it up, it is such a fickle industry. There's always ups and downs. And certainly this year has taken a whole toll and a whole new look at what's happened. So how has NAF been able to do during this year, which is done very well because of sheltering in place, right? Whoever thought the change of our lives, the dynamics that would occur. So what have you done? What kind of changes, or how has that affected you personally?
Well, I would give credit to my husband. He's pretty brilliant, but in January, when he started to hear the words pandemic, he went and bought every laptop he could buy in the market. So when it hit, we were all virtual within 48 hours. Our productivity has been up 45%. Part of that's because a lot of us don't have anything else to do but work, right? So listen, we've been a blessed industry. The the silver lining has been the productivity and the fact that we have work to lean on in a time where the emotional part of dealing with this pandemic has been very difficult. So I've talked a lot to my team about being very aware about mental health and the triggers around depression and isolation and loneliness. So, you know, we've kind of grasped together as a company. I've shared some of the stories within my own family and the struggles we've had and how I've been able to, you know, help my brother and help different people in my family just deal with the mental aspects. Even our kids, I mean, virtual school is a whole other thing. Top of us being career women, we're now like second and third grade school teachers. You know, I had a conference call this morning, 10th grade student, and they're like, well, he needs to turn his camera on. And I'm not a helicopter parent, so I don't know that he's not putting his camera on. But on top of that, yeah, our lives have changed. But, you know, I just have been taught by my husband to always find the silver lining. And the silver lining has been for me a lot of quality family time. And it's impacted me, you know, in a very positive way. And I see the light at the end of the tunnel now. I think that was the big part of it, is that nobody could see that light. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not so sure where this vaccine's going to go, but it's given hope to many who felt like there was no hope, especially our elderly. So I'm happy for that.
I am too, and I totally understand and feel the exact same way. And you're right, the hit of depression, that people feel, the loneliness, the isolation, the kids, you know, even the driving you crazy at home. Oh my God, can I get a break? I mean, all the things that all of us women and men and everyone have to deal with. And thinking of that, you know, also with the fact that a lot of us may not have the nice opportunities that we are given here with a computer, right? To have that available to us. So I
Yeah.
think you're absolutely right. And I couldn't agree with you more. I'm so looking forward to this, you know, the opportunities that lie ahead, and that there is a light there. And one thing that I will, and I mentioned it at the very onset, is that you and I met through, are you there? Through NARP. And so I just want to make sure, how valuable is that? What do you, you know, you're also involved with MBA. So why do you think that's important? And obviously we know why it's important. Let's talk about it from the audience perspective. Why would you get involved with organizations and the impact that they could possibly have on in your life? Because they have on mine and yours.
Yeah, so I'm involved with many organizations that I find very, very impactful and very important to not only me personally, but to our organization. You know, if you're in the mortgage industry, our industry is laden with regulation. So I think the Mortgage Bankers Association has been a tremendous asset to Rick and I. I recently was appointed to RESBOG. Rick is a former member of RESBOG. And the work that they do on behalf of the industry as a whole is priceless. So I'm a big advocate and a big supporter. And if there is an independent mortgage banker on this call that isn't a member of the Mortgage Bankers Association, they should. NARP is my passion. NARP is the love that I have for our community and our culture. It's where I can go and feel like me. I always say this: when I public speak in a forum that doesn't look like me, it's a little uncomfortable. But when I speak at a NARP event, it's like, well, if I screw up, who cares? They know me, they connect with me, they understand. I always say I speak, you know, half-assed good Spanish, half-assed good English. At some point, the words coming out, they understand me. So I feel very aligned with their mission to serve. You know, it's been a great thing for our company and for the growth of our company. But I really do feel like being instead of being afraid like of the CFPB, I went and joined the advisory board of the CFPB. So, you know, it just
Wow.
to protect the industry. I'm Latina, right? So I'm already really fearful. And so instead of being afraid of something, I align with it. I face it forward and I address the issues with regulators. And I think that that's been a critical part of running our company is my involvement with policy and our industry.
Which I think is something too that you learn through the advocacy that you're involved with, because I never did that myself until I got involved with the organizations that I've been involved. NARP was a big part of that. And you mentioned one thing already that you've learned about yourself, that you really kind of tackle fears, because we are fearful, right? As Latinas, we generally are scared of, oh my God, what if I fail? But what other lessons could you give, you know, especially about change, about yourself? Patty, have you learned this year or altogether so that you can share those with other people? And what advice would you give someone that's either new in the industry or going through a tough time, themselves?
Well, I think, the biggest thing in my life has been to continue to evolve as a human being. I think that as we age, one great thing is that I feel very confident now at my age more than I did when I was younger. But it's evolving, right? I'm always reading content or trying to be a better leader and realizing that changing isn't an easy thing. It takes work, but it's so critical when you're a leader of people, how you affect people. So leadership is something that we are born, maybe sometimes some of us are born with it, but it can be learned, and it is a skill that I work at. In just on a daily basis. I'm trying to always be a better wife. I'm always trying to be a better mother, a better friend. Those types of things are what give me fulfillment in my life. So it's super important for me. I want to matter. I want to matter to people. I want to matter to my organization, to people like you, to people like Gary Acosta. It impacts me if I feel like I disappoint. So I think I'm just a constant student of me. Right. So I'm always trying to enrich who I am as a human being, and knowing that that's really what living is about, is constantly evolving as a human, and not figuring out like, oh, I made it, I'm done. No, I made it, and I can be wiped out by the next person who's coming in this industry. So constantly evolving and growing your company and being aware of what's going around you, I think is critical in any aspect of life.
Well, I love that. And I could not, again, agree with you more. And, it's hard to believe, Patty, but we are really like running. This isn't like fast, but it's almost time for us to go because we're trying to
Yeah.
keep this under 25 minutes this time. And one thing I do want to find out, there's two questions left, is tell me about any podcast, movies, what do you recommend, for someone, a book that impacted you, anything like that, that you might want to tell our audience that they would want to chime in on?
Well, podcasts, I think, are very individual. So what I say, there's a lid for every pot. So there's a podcast for every person. And if you download one and you don't resonate, keep searching, because that's my daily dose of wow. I really, really love like Oprah. And I think everybody knows that. I've posted pictures. I got to meet her right before the pandemic. So I'm a huge Oprah fan. So I'm everything Oprah, podcast, content, because I resonate with the way she delivers her message. There's a ton of content around industry as well. But if you don't resonate with one, download another. So I think that's important. As far as books, and I've said this many, many times, I'm not the reader of like whole books, right? I read what jumps out at me. So like I'll take a book and I'll open it, and then I'll flip through the pages to see what catches my eyes. Instead of reading a ghostwriter's content, I'm actually feel like I'm reading the writer's content. So I search for the meaning of the book. So right now, I'm reading, here's my book, actually. I'm reading, oh my God, what the F does the Constitution really mean? So I think it's really important that in my role and what I feel like we just went through with around policy, that it's really important for somebody like me to understand how this country works. And I'm making that kind of a mission right now. And hey, I'm later to the game, but really only 30% of our population knows how our country works. And after what we just have gone through, I really think that educating ourselves around how this country works is really important to create more unity amongst us instead of a divided country. So my goal is to work with unity and policy in the next few years.
Wow. And I've got to pick up that book for sure, because it sounds interesting and I need to understand it too. And I know I have to give a shout out to several people that are on that I know. Susie, who is does our eConnect for you. And also Rick, I know I want to say hi to him and your family as well, because we adore them. They just a big part of a connection in the industry. As we finalize, tell me a little bit, just a motivational quote, something that you just want to leave the audience with. And you've already left with so much and impacted so many people, just so you know, Patty, my life too. But as you leave, something that you want the audience to leave with.
Well, I think one of my favorite quotes that I've been written up on is nobody's going to tap you on the shoulder to tell you to be successful. That drive and that fire comes within us, right? And it's in every single one of us. It's just tapping into it and not seeing roadblocks, but seeing clarity and where we can go is really important. So nobody told me. In fact, I think I posted a video with my mom and I asked her straight up, did you think I would be successful? She said, no.
No.
No,
That's
so
cute.
that's proof that it came from within me. So I think
Wow.
that's important to tap into your personal fire.
Wow, beautifully said. You know, and Patty, I've absolutely loved spending time with you. And I also want to thank our audience as well. It's so easy to see why we call you the chingona, right? Say that
Thank,
for me. La chingona.
thank you. I proudly represent.
And for all of you that might not know what that means, it means in a nice way, the badass, right? As I end, I share a quote with Michelle Obama, which I think hits home today. When you've worked hard and done well and walked through the door of opportunity, you do not slam it shut behind you. You reach back. Thank you, Patty, for
Thank
reaching back and for all the work you do to empower women every day. So, everyone, please make sure you comment, like our page, join our YouTube channel, and join me back here in 2021 on January 6th, where we're going to kick off the year with another group of dynamic women, our legal eagles. Thank you for watching the show, and please remember always, always bring another woman up the ladder as you climb up to the top. Have a great and safe holiday and blessings to you and your family. See you in 2021. Ciao, Patty.
you. Bye-bye.
Besitos. Bye, everybody.
Bye.